is built into StarCraft 2 that hasn't yet been used. So it's going to be interesting what sort of balance and gameplay affecting things can be added into maps, in these custom maps produced by IC Cup or LS and Jackie Prime for GSL.
Maybe more maps with like lava coming up from the ground or something like that. Those
just like in the single player game.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You know, I still haven't beaten single player.
What?
I know.
I should definitely go and do that.
Every time I play single player, I'm just thinking to myself the entire time, I could be working on my build orders. I could be laddering right now, and I can't do it. I always quit out of single player and start laddering.
But think of all the portraits that you can get.
I know. Well, see, I do, but at the same time, you can get really cool portraits from laddering too.
That's true. So one thing that we did see was that the Protoss player did get the scouting, and little pacifist roaches there, letting the probe go through. So the Zerg does know, or the Protoss does know that it is a one-base Zerg coming at him. He's sending in a second probe just to be absolutely sure. Going to drop down a ton of photon gens here. If these all get up, it is going to be relatively safe against these roaches.
Yeah, this is not going to work. No. Unfortunately, this means that the Zerg player is going to be pretty far behind. He will be able to pull that one roach back and then pull another roach back and try to get into a position where he can maybe just take out that cybernetics core and at least do some damage that way. But as that other cannon finishes, it's going to be pretty tough. He's going to need to keep kind of cycling those roaches through there. Although, is he going to be able to get it? I think he is. Yeah, 3 roaches actually able to fire without being hit by the cannons. That's actually huge. Cybernetics core does go down, but there's still no room. Oh no, never mind, there is room for the Zerglings to sneak in, but only a couple get by before the force fields prevent any more from getting through that gap in the wall. So right now, Younghwa is still looking in to be really good shape, although he did spend quite a bit on cannons.
Yeah, he does have a lot of static defense here, but it is okay because he does have a huge probe lead right now, and it is going to be very difficult for Horror to come back into this game.
Yeah, almost impossible, actually. He's producing 7 drones right now. He's getting his expansion up and running, but he's just so far behind that a 2-base Protoss, like Younghwa is playing as right now, can produce a really, really powerful death ball type army and kind of come in and roll you over if you're not careful enough.
Yeah, and while destroying that cybernetics core and making the gap in the wall, didn't actually end up doing anything. What it really does is delays the tech of the Protoss so that the Stargate's going to be 60 seconds later, or any sort of warp gate tech is going to be a little bit later as well.
Yeah, much, much later. In fact, I don't even think he's getting warp gate right now. No, never mind, he is. I can see the little things turning. No, he's not. They just turn by themselves. Oh, they kind of flash and turn if you're getting the upgrade, I think, right?
Yep, there you go.
Right.
So, as we were talking about in another game, if you're behind, you do need to take a few risks to try to come back in the game. One of those risks is double expanding here.
Hey, why not?
Yeah. Well, why not is that if it does get scouted, then it's very easy for the other player to be like, alright, all in, good, I win.
I guess so. You know, that being the case, I mean, I know why he put it there. You know, he can connect those bases a little bit easier with creep, but at the same time, I kind of feel like that would have been a better location, maybe even the other main, possibly as well, just to be way out of the way and just get a lot of drones. Oh, but there's a Dark Shrine coming up on the production tab. I see it. Where is it? Somewhere around there. They all look the same. There's the Dark Shrine going up for Younghwa, so that's going to be something that's going to be pretty difficult for our Zerg player to deal with, because I don't think... No, just now starting Lair. That's a disaster. Does he have any... doesn't have any Spore Crawlers. I don't even know if he has an Evolution Chamber. These DTs could do a ton of damage.
Yeah, there's no detection on the field at all right now. In addition to the DTs, he's also getting Blink Stalkers. So, on a very strong economy, this is something that's going to do a lot of damage if he times it right. The Zerg player was actually able to drone up to a 10 worker lead, which is good, but really the Zerg wants to be a little bit higher than that at this stage of the game.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Younghwa adding a ton of gateways on there as well. He's either going to warp in a lot of Dark Templars, or just simply a lot of gateway units and then augment with a couple DTs. But I'm curious to see how he's going to do that. He doesn't have a forward pylon, so he is going to have to walk those Dark Templars all the way across the map. Now that's going to give our Zerg player Horror a little bit more time to get that lair up, but it's going to be really close. There are the first 4 DTs, and Horror can maybe see the shimmer on the ground, but it's pretty unlikely that he actually noticed that.
Yeah, that's very true. However, we do have an evolution chamber coming up. He didn't actually scout anything. He's just kind of preemptively doing that. It's a good idea at this point of the game to do something just to prepare to be able to build up the counter if you need to. These pros practice these games over and over and over again, so they have all the timings very internalized.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see if there are going to be spore colors. There are indeed. I wonder if he may have scouted that Dark Shrine, but it looks like the DTs are just going to go after the lair. And the question is, are they going to be able to get it? The Queens don't have enough for Transfuse. The spore color is going to finish, though. Is the lair going down? It will go down! And Younghwa losing his lair. That's huge. He's trying to produce another one now at his main, but the DTs are in the base. There's enough spore crawlers around there that they should get cleaned up very, very quickly. Although losing that lair is going to set him back quite a bit in the tech, even though he does already have the Hydralisk Den up and running.
Yeah, he got the tech out. He did get an Overseer up, so he's going to be safe, relatively safe against these Dark Templars coming across the map. However, as the Protoss player, it is still a good idea to continue to produce Dark Templars because you can get a lot of map control. You do need to force that Overseer to come out if the Zerg wants to get any sort of vision or just try to spread this creep at all across the map.
Wow, did you see that DT slice that Zergling like in half a long way? Wow, never mind, there's Stalkers moving in right now. That's plenty of Stalkers to take out those roaches if they need to. A lot of Overlords being taken down as well, being a little bit out of position. Younghwa, does he have Blink? He does have Blink. He's going to be able to handle this army very easily with some pretty simple micro. And GG, I'm Horror knows the position he is in, and Younghwa, Younghwa takes game 1.
Yes, he does. Crazy Protoss player.
Yes, indeed. I think I'm going to go get some coffee.
Alright.
Would you like some coffee?
I would love some coffee. It is
All
currently
right.
9:15-ish a.m. here in Korea.
Caffeine.
Got up early to get you guys some awesome StarCraft coming from Korea. Something that's not as common as it really should be, but we're trying to make that happen as much as possible. With this Clash of the Houses series, we are going to a bunch of different houses in Korea. Showcase a bit of what goes on there, get you guys some video, get you some interviews, and get you some awesome games, which I am queuing up right now. And for anyone that wants some other games to watch in between these, there is actually an After the Clash happening, sponsored by CSN. It's an amateur tournament, but while it's amateur in namesake only, because there are a lot of top players from the North American server playing in this tournament. They're playing for $500 in cash, as well as, I believe, some other prizes. I don't know exactly what those prizes are, but I'm sure they're pretty awesome. So you can check them out at glhf.tv. You can even watch both streams at the same time if you'd like. Thank you, sir.
Here's your coffee.
Thank you for my coffee, the Korean fuel. So, just in time for our second game of our fourth set, we have Younghwa versus Horror on Metalopolis.
The horror! The horror. I'm Horror.
I hope you're not.
There he is.
Very strong Zerg
That's the
player.
only intro I'll give you.
Yeah,
he is.
you are Horror.
Alright, there he is.
I am Younghwa.
That's right, Blue Protoss. Close positions by air. I'm going to close the door. Mole Trap's sleeping, so I'll let him do that.
Gamers in their crazy sleep schedules.
I know, well, he was going to stay up for a little bit of TSL3, and then he decided to conk out after the first match, or even before the first match, I think. He's still kind of adjusting to his new sleeping schedule, too. He has only been here for, 5 days now? He got here last Wednesday, I think it was.
It's very true. And
6 EMFs?
EMFHS. So the Korean keyboard and the English
Oh, there
keyboard
you go.
use the same letters, but different layout. So sometimes the Koreans get confused, which is why you see
WW.
WW instead of GG, because that's the JJ sound in Korean if they were to be typing on the Korean style. So me blabbering, I missed exactly what they said in Korean. I could have deciphered that for you guys.
You sure?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Alright. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll never know. They probably said something like, "Oh man, I'm so happy to be playing in this tournament."
Oh yeah, thank you so much for
excited.
CSN.
Thanks, Cybersportsnet. You're the best. That's what they were saying.
They might have actually been talking about 6 pools, but
maybe. Yeah, that's probably it. Well, that just made it a lot less cool, didn't it?
I'm sorry.
Thanks
Okay.
a lot. All right, what does this say? Tell us.
예선 이 생건 생각나는 군.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds like an actual language. I'm sorry. That's,
So while I say decipher, it takes me like 15 minutes to do so.
but Younghwa says
Getting
K
there.
K K K K. Yep, K K K K K. That's like a laughing sound. That's like basically how they type LOL in Korean,
Yep.
pretty much. Yep. You're learning all sorts of stuff by watching the stream,
This
aren't
is
you?
end. Hwa is end.
And KK. So a little bit of friendly bantering going between the two players as Horror does get his gas before Boole because he doesn't want to immediately die this game. At the same time, Seed deciding to go again for the Forge Fast Expand. And Horror has kind of seen those openings today and has gone, all in basically every time he's seen it. So is he going to bite the bait again and go for the all-in, or is he going to try to play more standard? Because if you do let that Protoss player get that Forge Fast Expand going, then that's just all the more economy that you're going to need to deal with later in the game. So it's a tough decision for the Zerg player. It really is.
Yeah, that's very true. And this map isn't quite as good for the Forge Fast Expand as the last one. As we saw before, there, Younghwa was able to get a wall of buildings behind it, an entire row of photon cannons. Can't quite do that on this map, so if Horror does decide to go for some sort of one base all-in, he might actually have a pretty good chance at busting through here.
He could, yeah, and I think he's going to do it again because there's the Roach Warren, and more importantly, there is not the hatchery. So, yeah, another all-in. Horror playing maybe a little bit predictably, but, it might work. It is a good opening. I actually kind of like the way that Morrow showed me how to do it when he and I were sitting next to each other living here. But he likes to actually start the hatchery at the same time he starts his Roach Warren, or start the hatchery, then start the Roach Warren once he knows it's not going to be scouted, and then cancel the hatchery later once it's about to complete, and then that's around the time the Roach Warren finishes, so you can right away produce a bunch of roaches and then go all in. And ideally, they won't be expecting it quite as much.
So he's saying Kuroba. I don't know why he's using the English version of it, just in Korean letters.
Maybe they're called probes?
Well, no, they're actually called Tamsajong.
Tamsajong?
Yeah, Jong.
Tamsajong.
My pronunciation is horrible. Do not repeat what I say because no Korean will actually understand you.
Well, my pronunciation, I've been told, is very good. So maybe. I still can't read it very well, though. Oh well.
So the Zerg here is going to scout what's going on. There are a lot of photon cannons while they're undefended from a wall of buildings. That's still a lot there. You don't really want to be pushing in. He is deciding, hey, if I survive this, I will win. So he's just constantly throwing down more and more photon cannons.
A hatchery going up, though, for Horrors, so maybe planning on this not working. Some false all-in pressure, although he did delay his own hatchery quite a bit. This Forge looks like it's going to go down, and once it does, I think we're going to see a lot of Zerglings run into Younghwa's base. The Forge does go down. Are there any force fields prepared? There's a bunch of drones there instead, trapping the Zerglings and the Roaches between the cannons and a wall of drones. The drones dying very, very quickly, though. And I'm Horror may be able to get a lead from killing these drones, a lot of them going down. This could actually work.
Yeah, that was actually a ton of damage. That's exactly what needed to happen. It dropped the probe count down to 7.
Younghwa not happy about that.
No, and all he really has right now is a bunch of photon cannons. There are almost no fighting units on the field for Younghwa. There's one Stalker, no income. He's really going to have a lot of trouble coming back into this game, especially since he's playing against the 3-base Zerg.
Yeah, Horror doing the double expand again, Maynarding some probes, or not probes, some drones over to his natural expansion. And now that he's so far ahead in drone count, that's going to be huge. I mean, at this point, Younghwa is going to really, really need to make sure to chrono boost all the probes he possibly can to have any chance of getting back in this game economically.
Yeah, that's very true. His base is relatively defended from by these photon cannons, but the problem is you can't attack with photon cannons.
Yeah,
It's not like it was in the beta or the alpha. Excuse me.
Alpha?
Yeah, I think they had photon cannons that you could move.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. As if cannons weren't good enough already. Let's make them move. How would they move? Like flip on their sides and roll or something like that?
I don't remember exactly, but it had something to do with the photon or the warp prism. I remember seeing that and be like, oh, maybe I should play Protoss.
You like warp cannons in somewhere? Oh man, that would be that'd be terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Good thing
They were like, well, we want Protoss to be IMBA, but we want to wait a little while before people can figure out how to make it that way.
You know, I remember the beta, as you see these Zerglings futilely trying to get into the base. I remember the beta where I used to do like Colossus drops on Desert Oasis and things like that. You could, if you could micro it really well. You could drop on that ledge, take a couple shots, and then pick them up and fly away with the warp prism. Nobody ever does Colossus drops anymore. I wonder why.
Well, it's very expensive to do it, and Colossi can pretty much go anywhere anyway. So
That was a rhetorical question. But thanks for explaining it for the noobs out there that may be thinking, oh, Colossus drops, that's a great idea. It's actually not. Don't do it. Maybe do it against your friends that are silver and you want to like make them feel really bad. Just do a Colossus drop and kind of rub it in their faces. But if you're doing it on the ladder against someone your skill level, I wouldn't really recommend it. And that Overlord is going to die, but not before it sees basically nothing.
yeah, and the reason for that is because there's basically nothing to see.
That's
There's still
absolutely right.
only one gate here for Younghwa. He's just trying to get probes out as desperately as possible to be able to stay in this game. His income is quite low compared to the Zerg's income, but catching up a little bit. However, the main issue is that the Zerg is getting all sorts of tech. The Hydra Den is just finished. He's got a Baneling nest going up as well. Those Banelings, if you can get enough of them, can just roll in here and take out all these photon cannons all at once. Or more importantly, take out the pylons. There's only 3 pylons powering all of these photon cannons. So it is quite efficient to be able to take those down before trying to take down any sort of the fighting units.
Possibly. I'm trying to remember how many Banelings it takes to take down a pylon. I believe it's 5. I'm pretty sure. They do 80
That
damage
sounds
to
about
buildings.
right, since they do
Yeah,
80
400.
damage.
Yep, okay, so that is 5. Alright. But if the pylon regenerates even 1 point of shields, it's going to take 6.
Yeah, or 1 road shot.
That changeling is not going to be able to go anywhere. The cannons do, of course, see that.
Very sad death there for the changeling.
Ew, it's like armor falls off. It's kind of gross. Oh, but luckily, going into the ground, it will fertilize the grass there on top of the building. That'll help. In the meantime, cannons turning on each other. The world has gone crazy at the base of Younghwa. And I think right now, Horror is basically just massing up the army he needs to break this. I'm a little bit surprised that Younghwa stayed in the game, but I think he's going to try to go for that air. But the counter, quote-unquote, is already out on the field in the form of Hydralisks. Here they come. They're going to take down those cannons very, very quickly, even if a couple of them get lifted by Phoenixes. And here we go. Did Horror bring it up right away? We'll have to find out. Overseer
Little
kind
dance
of-
here. He is losing a few Hydras where he really shouldn't
Yeah.
be. But it's really okay because he's got a lot more coming. It's not detrimental to him right now. There are a lot of Phoenixes here going into the main base, going to be able to take out a few units, but realizing that, hey, we shouldn't be fighting this right now, and backing away.
Horror saying sorry. Wonder why.
Sorry for making Younghwa look so bad. Younghwa is actually a very good Protoss player. He's gotten a bunch of play in the team league, where IM is placed first in the first one and second in the second one, and I'm sure they can do just as well in the third.
That's a lot of Banelings.
That is
And
a lot of
like you
Banelings.
said, I think that's what we're going to see. The question is he just going to basically A, move them into the buildings, or does he have a plan? I'm curious to see what the selections are. The Phoenix is running around, causing a little bit of panic among the drones, but at the same time not doing a lot of damage. Here come the Banelings, splitting up to try to take out as many cannons as possible. He's going for the Nexus. He didn't quite have enough. I think Horror is just kind of messing around with Younghwa at this point. It's one of those games where you can basically just kind of mess around with your opponent, although that is a good amount of zealots, so he's going to need to be careful. I mean, messing around is fun and all, but at the same time, you can never quite count out a pro player, I'd say.
That is true. However, I think Horror is in quite a comfortable position right now. He does have a gigantic economic lead, and he still does have the tech lead. There are a lot of Phoenixes coming out here, but there's enough Hydralisks to defend against that in his army, and there's Spore Crawlers up at pretty much every base, so he is able to defend against these no problem.
Now 17 more Banelings on the way. Here comes all the Zealots. He's going to need to micro those Hydralisks to kind of keep an eye on all that. A couple Hydras being picked up. The Zealots are going to be taken out by the Banelings very, very quickly, but that only will happen if the Banelings actually get to them. Alright, Banelings running into Zealots right now. They don't do quite as well against Zealots as they do against Marines, but it still works pretty well. Stalker's getting softened up by the Banelings as well. Phoenix is not able to lift quite as much as they would prefer. I think if there could be an upgrade where Phoenix could lift 2 big to 1, they would like that. But here come the Hydras. This is probably going to be the end of the game. GG and Younghwa falls to I'm Horror in Game 2.
So that is going to put us at 1-1 in our 4th set here of Horror versus Younghwa in Group A for the IM Clash of the Houses tournament. Or show match, I should say.
Well, it's kind of like a show match tournament, really. Because it is a tournament, I guess. But either way, thanks for joining us again. You're watching Clash of the Houses, brought to you by CSN, that's Cyber Sports Network. Again, I am Doa, casting with Torch. I guess I'm happy to be casting here. Do a little bit of extra practice before GSL tonight. Can't wait to cast with Moletrap. He and I have been casting a little bit already this week. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, and while today is Code A, it is actually a really exciting day of Code A. We're going to have a lot of exciting matches in Code A this season.
Code A is going to be insane this season. I can't like overstate that. I know I say it a lot, but it's so true. I mean, the games that we will see in Code A this season, I promise you right now, I can guarantee you that Code A will have games as good as Code S, if not better in certain cases.
And that's
almost gone.
And that's not to knock on Code S at all. There are
no.
some very good games going on.
Yeah, that's just to basically say how good Code A has gotten. And really, I instead of saying how good Code A has gotten, I should say how competitive Code A has gotten, because that's really it, is that the players' skill levels have kept going up, and there's only so many spots you have in the tournament like GSL, so there's a lot of very good players that we don't really see that much. But, speaking of 2 players that we don't really see that much, here's Horror and Younghwa duking it out in Game 3. It's going to be played on Zelnaga Caverns. A very good standard map to end this series on. Let's get it going.
Let's get it going indeed. And here in the bottom left position we do have I Am Younghwa in red as Protoss like he usually plays. And against him is I Am Horror. Very scary blue Zerg.
That's right. Dare you tread in the base of horror.
I like it.
Dare you?
Dare you?
Oh,
so now
really
if we had the overlay guy from DreamHack, that would be popping up right now.
Oh yeah, dare you. Yeah.
I Am Horror.
White Rock
Scare
cares.
base.
He cares. I'm Horror scares.
I Am Younghwa.
He scares.
Shy brain.
Shy brain.
He's a very shy person. A lot of the players on IM are actually very shy.
Well, you know, if you do nothing but play StarCraft 2 all day, you don't get a lot of social interaction. That is one thing.
Oh,
you know?
I completely disagree with that.
Really?
There's actually, there's a lot going on. It depends on the house that you're in. Like IM, their characteristic is relatively shy. They're all very good players, but they have a very family feel to their house, as that coach was touching on in the interview that we played earlier.
Oh, that's good.
But you then have houses like Startail they're all very outgoing. They go and party a lot, yet still practice and have a lot of fun.
Wow.
They actually have a puppy now. It's amazing.
Really? What kind of puppy is it?
It's a what is it? Springer Spaniel, I think.
Oh,
I think
very
that's
cool.
What it is.
There's a lot of little dogs in Korea. I've noticed that. There's tons of like tiny little dogs.
Yeah, and that's because there's a lot of people in Korea, so there's not a whole lot of space to have a bigger dog.
There's not a lot of room for big dogs. It's very true. Looks like right now, excuse me, Probe trying to prevent the hatchery from going down. But again, I don't think that was ever the intent. Just like before, or kind of faking out Seed, getting him to spend those little extra minerals that he really didn't need to. He might even let that pylon finish. Very rarely we see that. No, it was canceled. So that's good.
That is very good. A little mind game is being played it's definitely worth the risk for the Protoss to be safe and throw up that pylon. Yeah, the Zerg might be just faking you out, but even just bringing that drone down costs some mining time from the Zerg player, so it's kind of a wash when you have it going.
Yeah, now that probe just kind of sitting there saying, hey, wait a second. There should have been a hatchery here by now. Going back, it's checking. Nope, still no hatchery. Because instead, there's just Zerglings being produced, Zergling speed. I think he's going to want to make sure that if another pylon does go down, he's going to be able to take it out so fast that it's not really going to matter.
Yeah, this seems to be a pretty common style from Horror in ZVP.
And there's
try to get the Zerglings out before you try to go for the expansion. That gives you the ability to scout and see if they do any sort of forge fast expansion. If they do, you can go for the kill right there. If they don't, you can go for an expansion of your own.
That's right. And Xel'Naga Caverns does have a pretty good and safe third that Zergs can take. I mean, obviously I'm talking about the one right there. The gold is obviously not a safe expansion to take as Zerg. But yeah, it's one of those maps where, as a Zerg player, you really can kind of count on getting a third. It's pretty rare when that gets denied really, really early in the game.
That's very true. But even still, in a ZVP, if you can get 2 bases to 1 and survive, you have a huge lead as well.
Oh, the Zerglings could have gotten in there and seen everything that was to see, but they decided not to, deciding to kind of play it safe or play it a little bit more unsafe. Make it exciting. Be like, I don't know what's coming. It's cool. Defend it. Looks like it's going to be 3 gates, probably an expand. Don't think we're going to see a 4th gate from Younghwa. This looks like a more legitimate 3-gate expand, I'd say.
It's very true. And he's got these sentries here.
Oh, they did get in. And they will see the gateways.
Well, that is what they're supposed to defend against, but I think Younghwa was actually typing there. A little bit of a psychological defense, or psychological attack by Horror.
Excellent move. I like it. Alright, so Younghwa having his base scouted. Now he may decide to just do a 4th gateway or do something kind of crazy once those Zerglings do get driven out of the base. Just throw off the Zerg opponent, but it looks like Horror putting up a Roachborn instead. And Younghwa probably going to be expanding at the normal time. It is a little bit late, but it's not going to hurt him too much, I would say.
Yeah, so we also have a probe here. He is hidden. He might be able to throw down some sort of hidden tech like a Stargate, but he is going for the expansion right now like you were talking about. So nothing crazy going on at the moment. It is nice to see a nice macro game get started, but we do have a Roach Warren coming up, so there is the option for Horror to do some sort of very aggressive Roach play if he wants to.
Yeah, it's really good to get that Roach Warren early, I would say, in ZVP. Even if you're not going to use it, it's nice to just have it. So if you kind of get caught off guard and suddenly go, oh, I suddenly need roaches, you've already got the buildings, so you can make them if you need to. So, and that's kind of something you hear a lot of pro Zerg players say, is that if you think you might need the unit, make the building. I mean, don't wait until you know you need the unit, because by that time, a lot of times it's too late. So yeah, make that Roach Warren. Then in case you need the Roach Warren, you've got it. So, good decision there by I'm Horror. Looks like Younghwa, though, just deciding to go Forge after that expand, getting 2 gases right away as well. So we'll probably see, I was going to say Robo, but it looks like it's going to be a Stargate instead.
Yeah, and Stargate's very good to get out right now. You can get out the Void Red to do some sort of quick damage, or you can just get Phoenixes to do scouting and harass those overlords around the map. However, we do have a lot of roaches coming across the map to do some sort of early pressure on this expansion by Younghwa. He doesn't have any sort of forge up, so he doesn't. Oh, excuse me, he does have the forge, but he doesn't have any cannons up, so he doesn't quite have the defense he needs to defend against these roaches. A few force fields going down and delay them a little bit, but the Lings swing around and are able to take out these sentries quite easily. But
it looked like they were going to. I thought they were going to, but those sentries taking some damage. Running pretty low on energy, though, although 2 of them do have almost max energy. A lot of Zerglings, though, certainly going to be able to shut down mining at this base for a while. And I think Horror may have enough to just power in here and take out a lot of these units. But at the very least, he's getting a ton of probe kills. The sentry energy finally draining a little bit. He may decide to pull back and kill the Forge as well. And it looks like Younghwa is in a lot of trouble here. Those roaches coming in. We might see a GG fairly soon. I really don't see how Younghwa can really defend against this. He is, at the very least, going to lose his natural. I may have been a little bit premature in saying GG, though, now that I think about it.
Yeah, once this Void Red does get out, he is going to be able to push back some of these forces relatively easily. The sentries on the ramp are going to be able to force field and prevent the roaches from getting up there. However, this expansion is going to go down, like you were saying, so the economic advantage is hugely in favor of the Zerg right now.
Yep, so the Void Ray is out, so the question is, will Horde decide to go Mondragon style and just decide to keep making roaches and completely ignore things flying above it? Or will he respond with something a little bit more rational and get some Hydralisks or something like that? But he may not need it. Here come all the Zerglings right now. Force field going down, but it doesn't stop the Zerglings from getting in. Younghwa doing a lot of typing, and it's probably not talking about how happy he is to see the Zerglings in his base. The roaches will get cleaned up by the Void Ray, but again, more and more probes getting taken out. Another sentry dying as well. No offensive units except for these two Zealots that are already very, very damaged. And one Void Ray not going to make a whole lot of difference. 21 to 40 on the Harvester count. Bye, says I'm Horror.
And the reason he's saying bye is because he does have a ton of Hydras coming out here. They are going to be able to cancel this Void Ray, or cancel it out in the fight. And then from there, the economic lead from 2 base Zerg against a 1 base Protoss is just going to overrun him in a very short period of time.
You know, I really love seeing these games, too, that are kind of in-house. I mean, the GSL is always very, very formal. The players just type GG and that's it. But in these games, you get to actually see the players kind of be themselves, and you get to see a little bit of personality come through. That Void Ray going to be taken out probably pretty quickly. There's a GG. Younghwa getting taken out by I'm Horror in Game 3. So I'm Horror winning that series. A big day for Zergs and Zerg vs. Protoss in this Clash of the House.